So right now, I am working with a lot of people who are distributing vaccines, primarily UNC Health. And we are trying to come up with solutions to address the equity issue of the vaccine implementation. And we're trying to do that threefold, right? The first way is to get that wait list that we have, right, of people who want to get vaccinated, but for one reason or another, the system has not even allowed them to get an appointment, to get through that wait list and get every last person a shot. Second thing, one of the reasons why there is a wait list and why people can't be called back is because a lot of these systems are understaffed. So what I then need to do is I then need to create a pool of people who can work in that system. And then that way we can start getting people called back. We can start getting people plugged in with the appointments. And the last is that we are going to have to develop another pool of people who are in the community, who are at um, recreation centers and churches with laptops that are able to on site be able to put people into appointments, not for somebody to continuously to hit the refresh button on their screen and have their fingers crossed that they'll be able to have an appointment. I need allocated appointments each day to communities of color, Black, Hispanic, and American Indian, and we need to be able to put people in those allocated slots. And that is currently what we're working on. As we speak, I am directly working on that. I just had a meeting yesterday where we're trying to move forward with that. I have a follow up meeting on Tuesday. I've got the pool of talent at the student level. I've got the pool of talent at the community level, and we already got the wait list. So just now we just need to create a system in which we can plug those people in. But I can tell you, there are people at the highest positions that are open to this, and we are directly working on it. Another thing is what you're doing right now. What you're doing right now by asking me these hard questions, holding these conferences, this town hall, they're huge. Because I tell people all the time that the reason why this pandemic is as bad as it is because our systems have failed us and our leadership has failed us, resulting in a lot of people who don't take this particular pandemic seriously. They flaunt the rules. They don't think it's important to, stay at home, to protect others when they're out in public. They don't wear a mask appropriately. You name it. All of those things, even at the individual level, is why this pandemic is as bad as it is, worse than it is anywhere else on the planet. But the flip side to that coin, the reason why it's not worse is because of you. And that's a really hard part because we work really hard and sometimes it feels like we never see the fruits of our labor. But I tell you the reason why it's not worse than it is because of you, Bessie. It's because you are doing this hard work. You are trying to provide people with information. And yeah, you're not going to convince everybody. But like I said, you'll be able to change one person's mind. And that's still important. And you are doing all the work that you're supposed to do. And this is what you're doing. The rest is up to me and other people like me to basically demand that institutions meet the needs of the people that they are designed to serve. They are failing their own missions. And it's up to me to bring them in line with the missions that they express to everybody that they hold dear. So I always want to, because I think it's very easy for people to feel like they haven't done enough or what more can they do? When at a certain point you pay taxes, so those institutions that you pay taxes in take care of you. I feel like you've already done all that you're supposed to do. We're supposed to take care of you, not the other way around. But unfortunately, that's where we are. Um, but I just want to say that no matter how bad things get, um, I mean, I always have hope so long as I'm able to interact with people like you. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the work that you do. Because again, I just want to reiterate that you alone and you together with the other people on this call are the reason why we are going to get out of this. And you're the reason why it's not worse. So, I mean, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for, to God that you exist, and I'm so grateful for you. I really appreciate it. But yeah, you've done all you're supposed to do. It's time for everybody else to pull their weight.
Thank you for that, Dr. Watkins. Can we could you explain or get into a little bit of the side effects of the vaccine? And has anyone gotten like very ill after taking the vaccine or died from it?
Yeah. So, from my understanding, there have been, from my understanding, and there might be information out there of people dying directly from the vaccine, but there's no information that I have available to me that has shown that somebody has died as a direct consequence of the vaccine. There are some things that provide complications. It is true that allergies complicate the vaccine. And I would imagine if there were severe consequences, it would be related to that. And so I will tell people that if they have a known severe allergy, that they let the administrators of the vaccine know that that is the case, because we do have medical approaches in place that will allow for people who have those severe allergies to get vaccinated, and then we deal with the allergic reactions, right? But we also have situations of severe illness that may, raise flags for some people. For instance, my grandmother, who is 83 years old, was just vaccinated earlier this week with her first dose. She is a stage 4 um, individual who deals with stage 4 breast cancer. She's on chemotherapy. I mean, you name it. She is very immunocompromised. She has stage 4 breast cancer. She's on chemotherapy, and she just received her vaccine um, earlier this week, Monday. And so, you have people who have a wide variety of health complications. So there are complications that do exist, but those are very, very minimal, and which is why they have trials that have been done so extensively. However, I have to also say this in complete transparency, because you are just going to give vaccines to absolutely healthy people, and the trial has gone so fast, that is why you can't mandate vaccinations. So when Bessie asked that question, you want to provide people information. Yeah, I want to convince people, but you literally can't force people, because everybody has a choice whether or not to take the vaccine. So I will say, compared to almost anything else that you would put in your body, whether it's food from a fast food restaurant, I'm not going to say any by name, or whether it's any other drugs that you could take for a headache or so on and so forth, or even if you get a wisdom tooth extracted, the side effects of the COVID vaccine compared to anything else is minuscule, especially when you weigh that up against the side effects of a coronavirus infection, which is very rampant because there's so much virus just out in the public. So to answer your question, yes, there are complications and side effects. Those side effects have a lot to do with your immune system ramping up, and not the vaccine in and of itself. So you get a shot in your arm, and as the kind of the vaccine does its work and the immune system starts ramping up, you might have some soreness that is connected to that, but that's your own body doing what it does. And that's also why allergies are so complicated, because allergies are associated with your body's kind of immune system, so various aspects of your body's immune system going haywire. It's not necessarily the vaccine that is hurting you per se. It's your own body's immune system that is just off a little bit, and it's reacting in a way that it normally shouldn't, which is what allergies are anyway. Um, so hopefully I answered that question.
Can I ask a question right quick?
Okay.
Uh, is this vaccine like vaccines we got as a kid that you get once and it protects you for the rest of your life? Or is this like the flu vaccine where every year you're supposed to go in the fall and get another shot?
Yeah, that really depends. The virus, the longer that the virus is just out in the public and it's really uncontrolled and not checked. That's the way it is now, right? It's just able to just fly around. I went and picked up some food at a restaurant the other day, and inside the restaurant was just jam packed. And people, you don't eat with a mask on, and so the virus can just fly around. So that's what we have in our society is basically the virus just going around unchecked. When that happens, this particular virus can develop a lot of different mutations. And I know you've heard uh, conversations about mutations, right? If those mutations remain unchecked and the virus remains unchecked and we're never able to get control over it, it could be the situation where we have to redesign vaccines to deal with the circulation of mutant viruses that may not be susceptible to the vaccine. However, on the other hand, if we're able to get control over it, then it may not be something that you have to take more regularly. So, on one hand, you don't control the virus, everything gets really complicated. You'll have to design and redesign viruses as the situation deems appropriate if the virus mutates and escapes the effectiveness of the vaccine. On the other hand, you nip the problem in the butt, you control the virus, and you don't have to kind of do this thing all the time because you don't have the virus in constant circulation, which is why we always have to look at this virus in the context of a global approach. Because as long as the virus is in some other country, it can come over here. And so we really have to deal with the virus wherever it is, so that we're able to kind of not have a situation where we deal with it all the time, like we have to deal with the flu. So the flu, the virus that causes the flu is always mutating. It's in such high circulation in the public, and it mutates so quickly that yes, you do have to continuously come out with new vaccines to protect you against that current population of seasonal flu viruses. So to answer your question is, only time will tell. There have been documented side effects for the second dose, and that may have to do with that immune system ramping up even more to 95% protection. But again, that is still your body doing the normal immune response, dealing with it. But I have heard that too, and that is a result of the immune system doing what it's supposed to do. But I have heard that too from a lot of individuals, and then I've also heard a lot of individuals. Well, most people they don't have any reaction.
So how long does it take for the vaccine to actually work once it's administered?
Yeah, so you do have that 21 to 28 days range. And over that time, your body is doing the appropriate immune responses. So it has to first see it, and then over a few days, your body starts to produce antibodies that then turn around and produce more antibodies. So it will take you kind of close to that duration to get the full kind of 50% effectiveness. So it does take a little bit of time. So that's another reason. So the first reason I said you should keep a mask on is because other people aren't vaccinated. But to your point, another reason that you should keep a mask on, because the development of the immune protection isn't immediate. It takes days, it takes weeks for it to mount and to prepare yourself for it. And so that is an excellent point, and that's another reason why you should wear a mask. And then with the vaccines that are available, I just want to reiterate, you cannot get the second shot until either 21 or 28 days later, right? And it's not until you get that second shot and then a week or weeks following that second shot that you are able to get to that 95 to 96% protection from the development of disease. So it will take multiple days, in fact, sometimes weeks, to get to that point where you are protected, and then a little bit more after that to even get to the 95 to 96. So we are talking a matter of weeks to get to get the immunity to where it needs to be, where you're 95 or 96% affected. It's not instant. It's not as soon as you walk out the door. It's a matter of weeks to get that, and a matter of days before you start producing those antibodies, those initial antibodies, and it starts ramping up over time. So you get shot, and then the antibodies, those are the components of your immune system that target the virus. They start ramping up over time. And then those first initial antibodies start being produced, and those go down, and then the good ones known as IgG start to come up, and then they stay up there. And then you get your second shot, and then they just get even better. So it does take multiple days before you get that immune response necessary to protect you.
Before we close out, is there anything, Dr. Watkins, that you want our audience to know, or is there anything in particular that you really want people to take away from this conversation about the vaccine or COVID-19?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing, the vaccine is fantastic. We have to have the vaccine in place. But it still is the case that the biggest thing that you can do is wear a mask when you're out or around people who don't live with you. So that's another complicated thing, right? Is sometimes people go hang out with friends or family, but when you hang out or you spend time with an individual who doesn't live with you all the time, you then are exposed to everybody that they are exposed to. And so people may be thinking, oh, let me hang out with my friends, right? It's only two of us, right? It's me, my wife, my friend, and his wife, right? But when you go into that household that you haven't been in before, you are going to be interacting with not just them, but everybody that they have interacted with, right? And so I always want to impress upon people that the vaccine is critical. Get your shot, get vaccinated. Soon as it's your number, right? Soon as your number is called, go get vaccinated. But I still think it is still my opinion at this point that the most important thing that we can do is mask up at all times. And I know it's hard. I know we want to go to a restaurant and eat. And I know we're thinking, oh, but the safety guidelines say that they can go and eat. We can go and eat, right? And we just take off our masks while we're eating. We know that that is how that virus is transmitted. And so I know that the safety guidelines say one thing, but I will tell you that they're not enough to protect you. So, okay, I see people nodding their heads. They understand what I'm talking about. They're not enough, right? Wear your mask at all times. If you're around somebody who doesn't live with you, wear your mask around them, right? Because that is how this virus is spreading. And as it spreads and it's uncontrolled in the population, that is how this virus mutates. And if we have to deal with a whole bunch of mutant viruses, it's going to make controlling this very difficult and much more complicated. So get vaccinated when it's your turn, right? If it's not your turn, spend that time getting the information that you need, right? Because a lot of the hesitancy that I hear are from people whose turn it's not even, right? Like they're talking about how they're not going to get a vaccine, and they're not even being offered one. So, when it's not your turn, spend some time reading up or spend some time watching this recording. During that time, wear a mask, right? And then when it is your turn, when we do get to those stages where your number is called, then go get the vaccine. So I just wanted to say that, and hopefully that made sense. But yeah, mask up, get all the information that you can from reliable sources, right? Like this platform. And then when your number is called, go get your vaccine.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Watkins. In closing, I just want to say we really appreciate you coming and having this conversation with us. It was definitely a much needed conversation. It was very informal. Again, I myself, like Ms. Elmore and Drew, we work with a population of people that have had a very hard time accepting this vaccine, accepting the truths about COVID-19, and well in their right, given the history. So with that being said, again, we appreciate it. Drew, Ms. Elmore, also appreciate you all coming and helping me with this. And again, man, Dr. Watkins, thank you very much.